Alabama found another gear. I kind of crapped on them last week when we were doing our preview. I basically said that they hadn't proven anything to me, that they needed to go on the road, that they needed to win convincingly, or at least win and look like a good football team on the road. Well, they did that and then some. I think they're just fine now. The Missouri game didn't do a lot for me. That happened at home. 34-0 is 34-0, but you made a great point. You said effectively 34-0 was the confidence builder. It's a shot in the arm. It's something that team needed to see happen to prove to themselves almost that they were capable of doing those things. And the number one reason, and I know you're going to harp on this too, it's Jalen Milroe. It's Jalen Milroe. Yeah, he runs for 185 yards in this game. He has 4 rushing touchdowns. His performance as a runner, I mean, it eclipsed that 155-yard mark and 4 touchdown mark that we were begging and pleading for them to try and return to. We were like, we don't even need to see 155 yards. Well, we didn't see 155 yards. He added 30 yards to that total. And that 72-yard touchdown run was really the icing on the cake for the Crimson Tide. But on the LSU side, this is a team that didn't fix anything in the bye week. The offense still looked shell-shocked. They were turning the ball over with Garrett Nussmeier. The defense does not know how to stop a nosebleed when it comes to a quarterback being able to run the football. It was decrepit. It was embarrassing. And that place was empty by the fourth quarter. That incredible atmosphere lasted for about a half. And the rain didn't seem to help it too much. But look, when your team is playing at a really high level, you'll sit through the rain. If you're getting blown out, that fan base will leave, just like any other fan base. But I will say this before moving on to you. Look, Garrett Nussmeier, you can't turn the ball over like that. It's the same issue that Carson Beck is having. He had 3 turnovers in this game, lost a fumble through 2 picks, and it felt like, and he also had 3 turnovers against Texas A&M, mind you. That was the nail in the coffin for them in that game too. It was the beginning of the end, well, really the official end, where LSU lost all life, is when they were on the goal line and he throws an interception. That was it. Alabama picks it off. They take the ball. They move on and they take it to the house a couple of plays later. And that was all she wrote for LSU. They had a chance to cut it to 1 score, and we would be potentially talking about a different football game. But Garrett Nussmeier throws an interception. Alabama capitalizes, and they blow out LSU.
I wish I can sit here and say that I'm stunned. This is not the performance from Alabama that was surprising. It was the performance against Tennessee and the performance against Vanderbilt that was surprising. We've had the questions. Why isn't Jalen Milroe running the ball, designed runs? He does so in this game. 4 touchdowns, you mentioned it, 185 overall yards. Against Tennessee, he ran the ball for 11 yards, no touchdowns. Against Vanderbilt, he ran the ball for 10 yards, 1 touchdown. And most of those yards were more scrambles and broken plays than designed runs. I think we saw them call designed runs for him, and it got the offense going. I also think when you look at 42-13, you can look at Nussmeier for sure. And I agree with you. That interception right at the goal line was like, maybe there's a little fight in this team, and it got taken out at that point. I thought LSU abandoned the run, if we're going to be quite honest, a little bit too early. Caden Durham ran the ball only 8 times for 63 yards. He had an average just shy of 8 yards a carry. You got to keep the ball out of Jalen Milroe's hands. You got to run the ball a little bit. I understand that we're all riding this high from Nussmeier, and he's starting to climb up draft boards, and scouts are starting to talk about him. Don't change what you do based on that. And it feels like there was a little bit of that. 42 passing attempts for LSU. Jalen Milroe, 12 of 18. And they had the run game going, obviously, and a lot of that, again, was him, because Jam Miller, Justice Haynes, those guys, they're just not putting up the bulk of the yards right now. But this is the Alabama team I expected to see, and it just makes you question what was going on over this stretch where you didn't really maximize Jalen Milroe. And then the question is, all right, is this what we see moving forward? Is this the anomaly? And we revert back to what we've seen. I mean, it was just last year where we were talking about Jalen Milroe needs to be benched, and what is Saban doing? And he was benched, to be honest, at the very start of the season, second game. And then he came out in the second half, almost made a run at the Heisman. Is this a point, again, where we see this year down the stretch, these last 4 or 5 games, or however many it is into the SEC title game, possibly the playoffs, whatever, that it's just a totally different Jalen Milroe? I have no answer for why that would be, except that they need to keep running him. This is the Alabama team that we thought would be there for Kalen DeBoer. It wasn't in previous weeks. Good to see them back. Very, very interesting turn the SEC has taken over these last 2 games. The Georgia loss and now Alabama on the road looking as good as they did.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's Alabama. I'm still waiting to find out who they actually are. I mean, like, this is a huge, unbelievable performance from them here in this game, but I gotta see them continue to stack. I mean, like, look, these are 2 impressive, very impressive performances in a row. And I think I would not be surprised to see them start climbing up into the CFP rankings. But the SEC is just so full right now. I mean, Missouri looked terrible a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and they go and they get a win, an ugly win, mind you, but they're still sitting there 7-2 in the overall, and then they're 3-2, I guess, in the SEC, and I don't expect that to stay that way. LSU's got another tough matchup coming them down the stretch, but I don't know. You get up into this other range where you have 6 teams in the Southeastern Conference right now that are 4-2 or better. You've got Alabama, you got Ole Miss, you got Georgia, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. It's obviously not going to stay that way. A lot of those teams at the top still have to play each other. Texas A&M and Texas, Georgia and Tennessee. I mean, you've got some teams in there that are going to lose. It just depends on who does lose those games. You talk about a college football playoff down the line. There ain't going to be 6 teams. There definitely not going to be 6 teams that make it from the SEC. Someone's going to get weaned out. I just don't know who it's going to be right now. You floated the idea of Georgia getting eliminated. I just have a hard time seeing it when it's down the stretch and eventually all said and done. But if they lose to Tennessee, I don't see any way around that. At this point, there's just so much talent in the SEC right now.
Yeah, chaos is always the answer. That's what we're looking forward to now with so many 2-loss teams and 1-loss squads in the SEC.
Yeah, but I just need to continue to see Alabama. Who do they have next week? Let me take a look at that.
I think they play South Carolina coming up or Kentucky, one of those 2.
It's Oklahoma on the road.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, you get Oklahoma on the road, then it's Mercer and Auburn. So it's Mercer, Oklahoma, and then it's Auburn. So I don't necessarily see Auburn's always going to be a hiccup spot for Alabama. You just never know. Rivalry games are weird. We'll talk about another rivalry game. It was damn near a hiccup spot for one team, but lots to get into there with that. So the SEC just continues to be a wild chase, and we will follow along with that as we go.